You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
Hey everybody, check out the Break the Bell podcast, where we believe your voice is your most powerful weapon. For a weekly dose of our take on what's going on in the world, mixed with a side of history. Find us wherever podcasts are found or on social media handle at Break the Bell Pod. And most importantly, never stop talking.
Prepare yourself. You're on the run with Remso W. Martinez.
So often I actually wonder, does anything I actually talk about when I do these monologues specifically, because I still don't often think that you're here because you genuinely care what I have to say, but for those of you that do, I am greatly, greatly honored, humbled, and appreciative of you taking your time to spend a little bit with me. I hope you're benefiting from it. I hope you're finding it informative and as entertaining as I set out these episodes to be. But one got me really, really excited recently. And by that I mean a good friend of mine, so somebody I personally know. I won't go ahead and out him right now, unless he wants to. He can contact me later. But anyway, a good friend of mine who's also a listener of the show went ahead and said that I had basically given him the boost he needed in his self-confidence to go ahead and develop a side gig. And of course, I gave him some referrals to other really great YouTube channels and stuff that I learned a lot of my stuff from. And he's out there being a young hustler, getting some extra coin apart from his day job, because ultimately what he wanted to start doing was he wanted to start building passive income streams. And the thing about investing, which should be your third step, your first one should be clearing debt, second should be saving money, saving cash on hand, and the third one should be investing. He realized that in order to have some of that extra scratch money outside of his regular paycheck, he needed to go ahead and get a side gig if he really wanted to focus on investing, getting good dividend, blue chip dividend stocks, and starting to get some of that passive residual income through owning dividend stocks. And what he realized was that, I kind of need a side hustle to do that. So he went ahead and did some of his own research, and ultimately he found what is probably one of the coolest things that I've ever heard of in terms of side hustles, and I have heard of a lot of them. He is building inexpensive computers from scratch, so that way he can sell it to parents through Facebook Marketplace who have kids that are getting online games. And what kind of taught me that he was doing this was we went to a Micro Center here in town, and what I noticed was that he was trying to find inexpensive parts for a computer. And I thought this was just another hobby of his, but what he realized was that his someone in his family was basically just putting up things around the house on Facebook Marketplace, and what he realized was that they were getting sold pretty fast. And the thing right now is you've got a lot of kids in that 8 to 18 range who are getting all these streaming games like Fortnite. And sometimes you need a dedicated computer for that. Some families don't have full-on computers anymore. They only have laptops. And buy a full-on computer, that could be kind of expensive. So he thought he'd do was he would go ahead and build computers from scratch with the cheapest parts possible. So at least that way, they're still functioning, they're still reliable. They're just not super state-of-the-art. And then what he did was he would go ahead and list these specifically as Fortnite gaming computers, computers that were perfect for your kid who just wants to go ahead and play one of those online games. And he would go ahead and sell them for a markup just a little bit below market value, but enough to go ahead and at least make like $100 or so profit. And he'd put them up on Facebook Marketplace and sell it. And I think it's a genius idea. Kudos to you, buddy. I am so glad that you found that this is an idea that is it makes a lot of freaking sense, especially now during the holiday season. And I hope you make a ton of money through that. and we were grabbing dinner after hitting up Micro Center, and he was kind of discussing his thoughts behind this. Now he wants to figure out how to make this a sustainable side gig. So I kind of ran him through the steps that are specific for him, but for a lot of you out there, you're realizing that, maybe you had to pick up driving Uber or doing, DoorDash as a side hustle. And what you're realizing is, some of that work for hire stuff just isn't really for you. You kind of want to have a little bit more autonomy. Now, I've always said that one of the easiest things you could do, which is in high demand, is copywriting. If you can write, and you can write decent sales copy, you will never go hungry. And take it from somebody that literally just did sales copy for months and months and months as I was looking for work, because it was either get a part-time job for minimum wage again, or do sales copy where at least I'm writing from my laptop from home and I don't have to go stock shelves. I've done many types of side hustles. I've done sales. I've done online classes. I've done photography. I've done everything but Uber. Some of them were more successful than others. So trust me, I have failed more than I succeeded. But in the things that I succeeded in, I made sure that, I could do it and I could make a lot of money in the process. But with his side gig, which is, building these computers and marketing them directly to parents through Facebook Marketplace who are looking for an inexpensive computer for their kids who are playing games online, I think that is just incredibly smart. And he's probably mad right now if he's listening to this, because I probably gave a lot of other people his idea. But what he's doing is something that's very focused in on his area. He knows the clientele. He's put in the homework. So what works for him might not work for you, especially given on the area, whether or not people can afford it, that type of thing. There's a lot of factors that go into this. I don't think he'll be in too much danger of competition. But kind of discussing that with him, I really had to think back into the process of how to set up a proper side gig so that way you can set yourself up for success. And take it from me, I've built businesses, I failed at businesses. I've had many side gigs. I've done a lot of things that I didn't think I'd be doing, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And at any given moment, I could go ahead and just switch one on if I need extra money. Now what I've got right now is I've got my main earned income through my salary, through my job. I've got residuals, which come from articles and book sales and ads on podcasts. I've got, consulting I do for books and authors and podcasts and nonprofits and campaigns and that type of deal. So I've got things that earn me a lot of money without having to put in a lot of effort, because I've been able to build my knowledge, my experience, my credibility, my talent, and my networks. So all of that has basically eliminated the need for me to have those side gigs where I'm working on the weekend. That way, all I can do is I can go ahead and have some of that money to do all the things I need to: pay bills, pay debt, put into savings, put into investments, and then put into other things that go ahead and help me increase what I'm doing, help me buy back my own time. So one of those things is being able to hire a publicist to help me with my articles, help me with my social media, help me with the show, because that frees up time that I don't need to worry about some of those things. Especially when you're doing, I do this show twice a week. I do Second Print Comics podcast every Wednesday. I do bonus material for that. I'm writing articles. I'm doing bonus content. I've got a newsletter. I go on other people's shows. It's a lot of stuff. And I need to make sure that all those things are helping me grow my brand and grow my name recognition, and hopefully bring in more people to me so they will want to go ahead and not just trust me as a subject matter expert on the things I'm discussing, but also go ahead and become a client or purchase a product or something like that. So what I want to do is I kind of want to run you through the 8 steps, and these are not definitive, but this is what I've condensed it down to from beginning to end, the 8 steps needed to go ahead and really set up your side hustle for success. And take it from somebody that has failed more times than I've succeeded. When I have succeeded, I've succeeded well, and I really know how to make money real fast if I need to turn on that side hustle switch. So trust me. A lot of people on YouTube that will go ahead and do this, they're going to try and sell you courses. They're going to go ahead and try and get you to buy ebooks and stuff. If you want to go ahead and book me for a consultation, that's fine. But really, this is kind of the footwork needed, the instruction guide, if you will. So that way you can go ahead and answer these yourself and figure it out, because I think the best teacher ultimately is experience. And I say I fail more than I've succeeded because, I think the saying goes, the teacher has failed more than the student has tried. And I take pride in doing this because I've helped people, whether they were in binds because they weren't working full-time, or because they needed extra money for something, or because they just wanted to go ahead and have that extra challenge. I've been able to help a lot of people make a lot of money the smart way, without having to go ahead and drive Uber, deliver food. Because ultimately, if you could be in the most control of your side hustle, I think that's the best thing. Otherwise, you're just an employee by a different name. The first one, step one, find your niche. I know some people call it niche or niche. Well, I'm just gonna call it niche because I've never been able to pronounce it any other way. So find your niche, find your thing. For me, it was copywriting, because my inherent talent, my big marketable skills, my ability to write, and primarily it was two forms of copywriting. One was ghostwriting. And what that basically meant was I would write for other people on their behalf, or I would do long form editing where basically they would take 90% of what I would write, add some of their own stuff, and market it themselves. That's how a lot of things work. If you think you have problems with that, well, that's neither here nor there conversation. But yes, I would ghostwrite for people. So there are published articles out in the world that have somebody else's name on there, and you can make money doing that. The other thing was writing sales copy. I've written sales copy for companies that are building education toys for children. I have written sales copy for businesses that will go ahead and construct websites for you. I've written sales copy on people who are creating websites to sell lawn ornaments and flags and stuff like that. And I even had a pretty reliable client, in Ohio. They were a day spa and they were selling their own beauty products. They were very reliable. I even wrote sales copy for a cosmetic surgeon in Malaysia who was marketing towards European clients, and he needed to write sales copy in English, so he needed an English copywriter. Regardless of what the product or service was, the inherent ability to write persuasive and informative ad copy that could convert readers into clients was important. I think later on we might actually just do an episode about copywriting, because I don't think I'm the sharpest tool in the shed. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I think entrepreneur.com went ahead and said that copywriting is one of the top 3 side hustles in the world, especially in the e-commerce space. So I always say that if you can write good copy, you'll be fine. It bothers me when journalists are out of work and they say they're above advertising copy. It's like, everything you're writing is basically selling something. You might as well do something that sells products, especially if you need the money. You're not above it. So that's my niche. So copywriting was mine. My friend in the previous example, his is finding the things needed to build inexpensive computers. He knows how to build them, and then what he does is he sells them through Facebook Marketplace, advertising them as computers specifically for online gaming. So that's his thing. Other people bake. Other people do many different side hustles, but find the one that doesn't feel too much like work, that you don't have to go too out of your way to do. And it's the one thing that you're naturally a little bit more talented in than the thing that you really have to figure out. So finding your niche is key, because if it's not something that you feel that you can dedicate a lot of time and resources to, and it doesn't feel too much like extra work, you'll be fine. I tried to create online courses. I sucked at that. It was terrible. That was not my thing. Even the topic I was doing for that, not my proudest moment. I did photography, but I was not a professional photographer. I had to learn everything online, and I hated it because, photography, I got to give photographers more credit. Photography is a lot of work. It's not just standing around taking photos of things. So, when I kind of figured out all the things I could do but I didn't like doing, I found the thing that I was good at doing, and it didn't feel too much like work. It was copywriting. And then for my friend, obviously, it's finding the parts for these computers and then building them. So find your thing. Step 2. Once you go ahead and know what you're going to do, your biggest thing isn't going to be finding hundreds and hundreds of customers. I think what you want to do is you want to use law of averages to your advantage, and you want to make sure that you're bringing in the best quality people. Law of averages basically means that the wider you expand your net of potential customers, the more customers you're going to find. So if, let's say, I need to get 5 customers by the end of the day, am I going to go just talk to 5 people? No, I'm going to talk to 10 people. And if I really want to make sure, I'm going to talk to 50 people. And if I really definitely want to make sure maybe get more than 5, I'm going to talk to 100 people. So basically, the wider you cast your net, the probability of somebody saying yes without having to be sold or easily, or you have to try and convince them, the more likely you are going to get those customers. So I always say you can probably find, just within your friends group or within your family or within another organization or something you're part of, church, whatever, you can probably think of 5 people who immediately need help, whether you're baking something or whether they have kids that need a computer or play Fortnite or something else on. You could probably find people. So I think what you need to do is you need to probably set yourself up with 5 customers. Is there a big reason behind that? No, I think 5 is just a good number. Other people will say more or less. Some people say you just need 1. I think you want to go ahead and give yourself a little bit of a comfort space. I think 5 is a good number, because what's going to happen is you need 5 people to at least refer you, because 1 or 2 isn't that convincing. 3, anyone can find 3 people. 4 means you're kind of pushing. 5, I think, is a strong power number. Those are people that can go ahead and provide you a review. You got 5 individuals that you did 5 different things for. That will go ahead and start to do step 3. So step 2, find 5 first-time customers. From there, use that 5 and try and develop a good relationship with at least 3. So what we're doing now is we're kind of minimizing down. Of the 5 first-time customers, try and get 3 to become reoccurring customers. And what I classify as a reoccurring customer isn't just somebody that has purchased from you a product or service more than once, but I try and put in a time zone. I'm going to say at least 30 to 60 days. Within 30 to 60 days, if they have come back to you for either the same service or another service, they are classified as frequent reoccurring customers. And I think of that 5 you have, you'll be able to go ahead and develop enough rapport from the first experience to get several of them, at least 3, to come back to you within that time. Because what you want to do if your side hustle is you want to start getting some reliable income coming in from this. And you could go out and you could keep trying to bring in new people, which I advise you do. But often, if you can get 2 to 3, I think what you can start doing is you could start upselling your services. For example, when I was doing copywriting, I only had, realistically, a handful of clients. And I would rather work with that handful of clients because I could upsell them, charge more for more services, and that I knew that they had a timetable and they had a schedule of when things needed to get done. So it saved me time not having to go find other people, because I could find 100 customers, but that would mean 100 separate assignments, and maybe it would have added up to what 1 or 2 customers ended up paying. So because it was my side hustle and not my big job, I knew, hey, I can get along enough to go ahead and at least get a few of these people to pay more so than your regular client and customer, but more frequently. So it's that upselling ability, and it's that ability to get them to buy frequently, which is going to keep your side hustle reliably sustained. Step 4, build and earn clients on referral. So what we did with steps 2 and 3 was that we widened the net with first-time customers, and then we narrowed down to get that reliable base of people who you're upselling and who are buying from you frequently. What you want to do eventually is, after a couple of months, maybe a couple of contracts and assignments under the belt, you don't want to have to go out and solicit yourself. You don't have time for that. You've got your main job, you've got your life, and this side hustle, what you're trying to do by trying to build that rapport, and I keep really trying to emphasize that you're building a reputation, you're building a professional relationship with these people. What you want to do is you want to be able to go ahead and say, hey, when you want to go ahead and you find the extra space to do more work, when you need to replace somebody who stopped being a frequent customer, what you want to do is have built enough rapport with those, that solid 3 number of folks. So you could say, hey, by the way, I'm looking for new customers. Do you know anyone that you could refer to me who might want the same service you're getting or something else? Those people want to keep you happy because they know that if you're happy, then you will do quality work for them. So what they will do is they will begin to refer you. And, I've done indirect and direct advertising and all marketing in between. And nothing means more than word of mouth. I would rather have a couple of people go out and give genuine, honest, great testimonies to their friends and colleagues than spend $1 million on a billboard in Times Square, because that word of mouth means more than anything else. So what you want to do is have built a strong enough base of frequent people who you have a good rapport with, who you're upselling, and who are happy with you, and you want to go ahead and earn their trust, so that way when you want more clients, you could just ask them, hey, do you know more people? And they will take care of you and they will bring more people. If you can get clients by referral, also the ability for them to be more easily upsold as first-time customers will be more so than if they were just buying a basic product or service as a brand new customer, because no one wants to spend too much on something that they're not quite sure with. But if a friend has convinced them that you're reliable and you're good and you're quality, these people will come to you as if they already know you, and you can more easily upsell them. So step 4, build and earn clients on referral, is big. This will help you. Step 5, build your digital portfolio. It used to be said during the early days of the internet, you have to have 2 things. 1, you have to have a website. You have to own your own website. And 2, you have to be on every social media. The thing is, that is not the case anymore. And even if some people say you need to be well diversified in that, I would take the stance that you should not. Now, understand my bias is I think everybody in their, everyone that you know and everyone that they know should be on Parler. Because if you know me, you understand that I'm an employee for Parler. But I also understand that we live in a world where you need options and you need to be able to find your people. Now, the consultant in me is going to go ahead and say, you need to go to the forum and to the place that is best for you. For example, if you're a copywriter, I think Upwork and LinkedIn and Fiverr are great for you. 1, because Fiverr and Upwork are both platforms where you can get connected with clients immediately, and they take a percentage off of your sales. They market you if you have a good rating, and then you use LinkedIn to go ahead and show off examples of client work. So I would go ahead and put copies or reviews or publish stuff on LinkedIn, because that's more of a professional network. And I'm on Uphold and Fiverr. And I'm talking theoretically right now, but I did do that when I was doing aggressive copywriting. For my friend who's doing the computer builds for people, LinkedIn might not be the best place for that. That might be seen as spam. I think Parler would be a good place, but what he's doing is he's dealing with a physical product. And he doesn't need to build massive social media because he's not building a business out of this. This is a side hustle. It should not, take the effort of a giant business, because it's just something you do as a gig. So what I mean when I say digital portfolio is just a place where you can publicly show proof of work. That's all it is. It's just a place where if people want to see references or if people want to see past projects, they can easily obtain it. So what I told him was, you're dealing with a visual product. So Parler is great for visual products. Instagram is good for visual products because you could go ahead and upload your image. You can add descriptions of what the cost was, what the process was, and what the time range was. You can go ahead and put hashtags there, and that is a good visual medium to show your physical product. And, if you wanted to, get business cards, you can get like 100 business cards from Vistaprint for like $20 or something like that. I said you can go ahead and have your name on the card and have a brief description, like Joe Bob, I build computers for gamers, and then your Instagram link at the bottom, just as a reference for people, because if you have that card, you're good. But, I think having a digital portfolio at least somewhere is better than not having it, and having a place that's consistent and uniform and organized and clean is better than having a whole bunch of stuff scattered infrequently on a bunch of places where it's just going to become a burden for you to keep up with. So having a digital portfolio somewhere so that you can go ahead and show your product or service is great. Not all are built equally. Do your research, understand where's my audience and what am I showing off and where is it going to be maximized, and you're good from there. So please do research on your end, but you have to have a digital portfolio. Am I against you having a website? No. But the thing is, a website's going to cost you money, and I don't think that side gigs should cost you money. If anything, they should be a net gain from day one. So, if you're going in the hole for that, that's fine. Spending $20 on business cards, that's nothing. But once you start getting into the fact that you're going to have to pay for regular maintenance and upgrades and everything else for a website and stuff, don't do it. There are enough free mediums out there that will be great for your digital portfolio. And then step 6, create monthly expectations. For a lot of people, and I think on YouTube specifically, they tend to use residual income and side gig income, in much of the same way. That's not really true. Residual income should be passive income that's earned through things that earn you money, whether it's through property, whether it's through royalties, whether it's through dividends. Your side gig income is going to have to come from the things that you're actually working on. And the goal is, and the expectations are going to be different because passive income is different from side gig income. What most people will tell you when you're trying to build streams of income as well as building your wealth is to eventually have all of that at the reach the level of which it can cover all your expenses, so that way you could use your earned income from your salary job and you could put it directly into savings and investments, so that way you're building yourself up faster. So that's their goal. Your goal doesn't have to be that based off your circumstances and how fast you want to reach certain financial goals. I'm not saying that has to be it, but that's generally what you're going to see online. So I don't want to set up too high of expectations. But to have some expectations is better than none, because what you want to do is you want to take this money that you're getting from something that's not costing you too much time and too much energy, and you know that you're maximizing it in the best way possible so that you're not burning as much of that earned income from your salary towards any of the things that we've spoken about earlier: debt, savings, investments. So what you want to do is really create your monthly expectations. And this is why with the second and third step, getting 5 first-time customers and then whittling that down to 3 regular customers where you can upsell is so important. Because if you could start building that as reliable income, you'll be able to go ahead and set projections for your finances for the year. If I know I'm making $300 a month from copywriting, and I know I could do that, I'm probably going to go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to put $300 towards paying down debt. Or, hey, I'm going to put $300 just towards savings. Or maybe, this is my investment money. Maybe it's just money to take your family out on a nice dinner and put gas in the car. Maybe that. Set up your expectations and begin to factor that into your income and into your expenses. So understand, maybe you want more customers. Maybe you want to upsell more of your current customers. Maybe you want to change your rates so that way you can make more money. Set that up so at least that way you're being intentional with your money, because what causes a lot of people to lose interest in their side gigs is when they forget why they did it once they start getting comfortable. So being intentional with your time and being intentional with what you're going to do with it is key. Okay, and then what you want to understand is determine your scalability. How can you turn your side gig into more of a marketable enterprise? Maybe it's hiring people to go ahead and go, for like copywriters, maybe you want to hire a proofreader. One, that means that you're probably going to have to take some of that money and factor it in towards paying the proofreader. But what if you got to the point where your stuff was so good and you were getting so many clients by referral and you were getting so many people to upsell products that you factored that in? So you raised the total cost of the service from, let's say, $30 to $40. So that way, when you have to pay $5 to $10 for people to read and proofread, 500 words of copy or something, it's like it didn't even matter. It's just there. So that way, what you have is you're able to go ahead and get out faster work, more quality work, and you're able to actually bring in more money for yourself because you're able to scale faster. You're able to take less of those pieces and have to deal with them yourself. So maybe that's what you want to do, but that should be something that you discuss once you get to the point where, hey, this is reliable, it's frequent, and it's bringing me good income. So understanding your scalability is going to be important, because maybe you should scale, maybe you shouldn't, but you should at least know whether or not you do or do not have the opportunity to do that, because that could go ahead and open up other discussions about the future of where you want to go or how you can possibly maximize it. Some people want, for some people, their dream is to turn their side hustle into a full-time job. Maybe that's you. Certainly not me, but maybe that's you. You should understand, do I have the ability to scale? Because maybe that doesn't even mean if you should scale, you want to scale. Maybe that just means I can scale. Maybe it is a time for me to go ahead and raise the prices on my stuff. So, if I wanted to hire that proofreader, I'm doing, my product was originally $30. I'm going to pay this person $40 instead. I'm sorry, $10. Maybe instead of charging $40, so I'm getting my regular price for this, I'm just paying $10 to the proofreader. Maybe because the quality of my service, I'm going to raise it to $50. So now I'm making an additional $10 myself, and then I could still pay $10 for the proofreader. Maybe that's what that opportunity is. Maybe you could be more selective about your customers and then, dwindle that maybe to one or two who you're getting enough to compensate for the customers that you're rejecting because you're upselling them so much. Asking whether or not you can scale your side hustle is big, because whether you end up having to subcontract things out or not, what it does is it gives you the ability to be flexible and to leverage your skill and your service. And then the last step is really the last thing you should want, because the biggest problem that people have is, when they start thinking about this, it's kind of a cart before the horse situation. Oh, do I have to pay taxes on this? Oh, do I have to file this a certain way? Oh, should I have an accountant for this? Should I set this up as an LLC? What do you do with the money? Here's the thing. You shouldn't start worrying about the money until you start making the money, because a majority of side hustles and side gigs end up failing before you even make $1. That's just the fact of it. So if you're worrying about your money, that's a good problem to have. Be happy you have that as a problem. As I mentioned earlier, what are you doing with your monthly expectations? Having a side hustle is work. Like it takes time and it takes energy that you could be doing something else. And I wanted to get into a point in my life where I was making enough through my salary, through my regular income, to go ahead and build up residual streams of income. And I wouldn't have to worry about having a side hustle. And now when I have a client, I make sure that it's a client for consulting purposes who, one, is not going to waste my time, but two, I can make a lot of money doing very little work for them. I'm now at the point where I have the luxury of saying no to people, because I know it's not going to be valuable for my time, and it's not going to be money that I feel is necessarily that important, because now I'm at the point where I'm trying to buy my own time back. I have goals. I'm trying to do that. It's bought me that degree of freedom. Why did you get into your side gig to begin with? That should be the first question. That is not only the first question you ask at the beginning of this when you're trying to find your niche, but this is also the last question. So it's kind of a circle. Everything will kind of meet up at one point or another, and it's got to end up repeating at the beginning and at the end. So, whether it's to go ahead and build savings, pay off debt, to invest with, or just to go ahead and give you more income throughout the month, don't just waste that money. Don't just spend it frivolously. Don't just let it sit around without an actual purpose. Money sitting in a savings account is fine if you know that you're keeping it there for an emergency fund or a bridge fund or something else. But if it's just there and you don't know what you're doing with it, it's almost as bad as the money not existing. Your money should serve a purpose. Savings is a purpose. Paying off debt is a purpose. Going into investments to help you grow your residual income and grow your wealth is intentional. Even if it's just so that way, like me at one point, I was like, I want more money because I want to buy more comics because I'm a giant nerd and comics are expensive. That's an intention. I know what I'm doing with it. So I'm going to be, a better steward of that money. So that's it. And let me go ahead and repeat those steps. Step 1, find your niche. Find the thing that you're really going to focus on, really doubling down and being good at. Step 2, find 5 first-time customers. This will go ahead and expand your network of people you're going to work with. Step 3, get at least 3 of that 5 to become reoccurring customers. And that means people who are buying from you within 30 to 60 days of your first sale or service to them. Step 4, build and earn clients by referral, so you never have to do really any of your own marketing yourself. Step 5, create your digital portfolio, a place where you can go ahead and show proof of work, where people can find you and where you can refer people so that way they see actual evidence of you doing what you're doing. Step 6, create monthly expectations. How much do you want to bring in? How many people do you want to work with? What are you going to do with that money? Step 7, determine scalability. Understand when a side gig becomes more than a side gig. Understand when you could be more selective about your clients. Understand when you could potentially raise the cost of your products or services. When you can determine your scalability, that will give you a lot of the answers you need about where you're currently at and where you can go. So that way you can make the goal of ultimately making more money smartly. And then 8, what do you do with the money? The biggest sin is not knowing what you're going to do with your money and just being reckless with it. So those are the 8 steps. Go ahead and write those down, and we are good. And, we got some time left. I want to go ahead and touch on something that I brought up at the beginning of the show, which is why you're doing this. You see a lot of people online, especially on YouTube, who are going to trap you of the things that I was trapped with, which is you will only become a millionaire if you've got your job, if you've got a million side hustles, and if you have passive income, and that is the only way to achieve success. And the thing is, you should not have side gigs just for the sake of doing it. Because if you end up doing stuff that you don't like, it's going to stress you out. If you're stressed out, you will create unrealistic expectations. If you create unrealistic expectations, you will never achieve them. If you never achieve them, you'll be a failure. If you're a failure, you're obviously not making the money. If you're not making the money, then what you've done is you've just wasted time. When I was doing photography, I didn't do it because I loved photography. I was not even a trained professional. I was just super cheap. And at the end of the day, I could go ahead and get paid for that. But it was so much extra work and it was so much of a hassle. Even though I got paid, a considerable amount for my skill level, it was not worth it. And the money became a bane because here I am, I'm with it, and it's like, well, I'm glad I got it this way, but it was too much time, it was too much work, it was a terrible experience. I might as well have just gotten a part-time job. And that's where I kind of want to lead things with. When should you just get a part-time job? Because here's the thing about a side hustle, and this is my problem with Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft come with so many strings attached, especially if you're doing Uber Eats. I mean, when you're dealing with food, that's a whole other thing. It comes with so many strings attached. You really have to look at what is the benefit of me doing this versus if I got a part-time job. Because if you're going to have a side hustle, here's my realistic expectation. You should be able to do your side hustle from home at any time during the day in your boxers. Because ultimately, as I mentioned, you should be able to lean on your talents and your skills so that way you make as much money for as little work as possible while still putting out a quality product or service. If you don't want to do any of that, or if you don't know, then you have to ask yourself, do I have extra time to commit to this? And if I'm not willing to commit to any of those things, and my goal is to bring in extra income, but I don't know what my niche is, and I don't have the talents or the necessary skills to really provide anything of quality, and I don't want to put in the work to find people, get a part-time job. Like, seriously, I know enough incredibly smart people who work as hill staffers who were bartenders on the weekends. I know enough people who were, going through college and they were working full-time fellowships and stuff who got waitressing or waiter jobs. I know full-time teachers prior to the plague who would get seasonal jobs working at farms or working at like GameStop, for example, just because they didn't want to have to use any of their salary to buy Christmas presents, or maybe their salary wasn't enough, so they needed the extra job of something easy like stocking shelves to bring it in because it's mindless and it's easy, and you know you're going to get those hours and you don't have to fight for them. You don't have to worry about it. I had a college professor back at Liberty University that wanted to go ahead and save up to get more, to get more money to buy his son a car. So he found that he had a little bit of extra time, which, and it's kind of an off the side thing, but he was kind of a shitty professor. I think he should have focused more on being a good professor, but whatever. Instead of actually being better and earning a raise or whatever, he thought, okay, I'm just going to get a part-time job. So what he did was he saw a part-time listing for our dining facility, and he went ahead and got a minimum wage job peeling potatoes. So he would go teach class, grade papers, go peel potatoes for like 3-4 hours, get like $7.50 an hour, and he just used all of that money to put into basically extra money to buy his kid a car. And if you're, think about that. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm at the point now where I should be side hustling, doing these extra sexy marketable skills. But honestly, like, no one is above a part-time job, especially if you're not employed. I know a lot of people, they only want side hustles when they're employed. My thing is, it's a good time to experiment with it, but the biggest thing should not be creating a side hustle because you're not working. The biggest thing should be finding a job. And then once you're good at your job and you've got that security, that safety net, then building the side hustle. So that's another thing. The worst time to discover your side hustles is when you're unemployed, because you become desperate. And when you become desperate, you do things that I did. You end up basically doing everything under the sun. You waste more time and energy getting very little money. That's time that you could have been going to the gym. It's time you could have been doing actual things that are important to you, like applying and trying to get a job, even if it's just a part-time job or you're looking for the full-time job. I've done it all, and let me tell you, if I took all the time I spent building side hustles and all this other shit on finding work, I probably could have gotten a better part-time job than just the minimum wage ones that I took. And, a big example of side hustles and residual income when it comes time to help, at the beginning of COVID, I was working at the Washington Times. I was the least paid employee in the newsroom, as I found out after I left. I was the least paid employee in the entire newsroom. And I was putting in more hours than other people. I was getting more results than other people. That's neither here nor there. But, I had the ability to do freelance work doing copywriting. Because I was social media coordinator, I couldn't offer social media consulting side gigs and stuff like that would have been, a non-compete issue. So what I had to do is I had to look within my current contract and find something that I could do to bring in money. So I was a copywriter. And that's when I started writing sales copy. So it got to the point where after a few months of dealing with a pretty significant pay cut that lasted up until when I left the Washington Times, I'm pretty sure it's still expanded through now December when you're listening to this, I leaned back on the side hustles and the skills that I previously had, and within about a month, I was making enough money through copywriting to compensate for the money that I was not making through my paycheck, which was 10%. So I was able to use that copywriting money from my side gig to make up that 10% difference. It was nice because, other people were just dealing with the loss. My big sacrifice was I sacrificed more time to make as much money as I had. So I found myself working harder just to make what I should have been making. But, I was willing to do it. Working harder and working longer is not a problem if you're doing it with intention. And it's because I had very specific goals for what I wanted to do with my finances for the year. I wanted to invest X amount of money. I wanted to save X amount of money. So if I had to work harder because of the situation that was outside my control, because everyone in the newsroom got a pay cut of the same percentage, it was just worth it to me. And, eventually I was able to do better in my professional life and everything else. And now I'm at the point where I don't really have a side gig. I have residual money coming from stuff. And when I do consulting for, books, primarily I do author consultings now, I could be more, picky about the people. So, understand that a side gig should be of a service to you because of you needing to meet your goals. The moment a side gig feels like a chore, the moment it feels like it's something that you hate doing, even if you're making good money, you should probably leave it. Hey, if you have any questions, just reach out. Contact me. We'll schedule up a consultation, and we'll help you meet your goals. We will walk through this, 8-step chart, so to speak, and I can walk you through it to kind of fill out those things, because I think the 8 steps I laid out for you are pretty simple, but sometimes people need a coach, people need a mentor, and I would love to be that person to help you with this. So please. There have been many good opportunities that came out of COVID, remote work and the ability to expand e-commerce capabilities for small businesses and for just people that want to go ahead and expand their skills so that way they could develop new streams of income. That has been a great outcome of this pandemic. And sadly, I don't see the world changing too drastically come January 2021. So, the biggest thing that I had to learn is what I hope you get out of this, which is take advantage of the time you have now, especially if you have those opportunities. Develop new skills, create additional streams of income, and get your own freedom, because the only thing money is good for ultimately is giving you options and giving you choices and giving you that freedom. Because if you don't have freedom, if you don't have choices, if you don't have the luxury of different options, that's what leads us to outcomes we don't want. And I don't want that for you. So please call me, email me, tweet me, parlay me, inbox me. You know how to get in touch with me. Use smoke signals if you have to. It's easier to get in touch with me than ever before. Go ahead, reach out. We'll get something on the books, and let's help you today. As always, thank you so much. Proud to be part of this network. We are Libertarians Network. Proud to have all of you listening. I hope you've been entertained. I hope you've been informed. And I hope that we can go ahead and get you on the right path as we rush towards 2021. or as the nightmare scenarios have been calling it, the potential for December 32nd, 2020. You're listening to On the Run. I'm Remso W. Martinez. Take care. I will talk to you later in the week.
Check out our other shows and more from the We Are Libertarians Network at wearelibertarians.com.